Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Crime Centric. This being a show I talk about crime dramas that I watch. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of Lethal Weapon. So a lot of things went down in this episode, so let's break everything down. Obviously, Sophia has Cole, and he's being tortured. Once again, that's always like the number one torture technique is like pulling fingernails. I'm like, ugh. I love Cole being who he is, trying to crack jokes. It's like, oh, toenails. Thanks for doing something different, you know? But Sophia's obviously pissed about him killing her husband. And it was kind of interesting, you know, Barnes' explanation for this because Roger, you know, figured it out when Maya called. And it was interesting because I didn't even think about it until this episode. It's like, yeah, this is the first episode Natalie and Roger have met. Like, both families have come together, essentially. The Murtaughs and the Coles. It's weird to say the Coles because that's not how the family dynamic currently, but you get what I'm trying to say. It's kind of interesting because like Maya calls Roger and Natalie talks to him and that whole situation because she's thinking like, oh, like, you know, there he goes, Cole flaked again, but it's like, no, he was kidnapped by the cartel. I love that how they figured this all out being cartel stuff is because the goot was like, oh yeah, she flips the body over of the guy that is dead and it's like, oh, I knew it was that dude. I could tell by the butt. And it's like, wait, what? She's like, I was undercover. I was at a wedding. She's like, actually, it was kind of beautiful. And you have like Scorsese being like, that's actually kind of messed. That's kind of disturbing. Already like Luis a lot. But nevertheless, Roger ended up going to Barnes. Barnes knew this was all happening. I love that Barnes is so manipulative. He tries to twist this being like, yeah, I sold Cole out. It's obvious to tell that that's what Sophia was after. And then to go like, nah, Cole can get himself out of this. It's like, your plan this entire time, or it could just be him trying to cover his own ass. But he's trying to make it seem like his plan the entire time was for Cole to get caught. And then it's like, yeah, Cole's good, really good at what he does. He'll break free, kill Sophia. So it's like two birds with one stone. Like, she gets dealt with. And it's all kind of done, and you know, because this is the easiest way to kind of get to her. I mean, to be fair, you could have just taken her down then and there, but you didn't. So I think that kind of speaks volumes in itself of like, yeah, this is just you covering your own ass. You're trying to justify it after the fact. And even Roger kind of gets down on him for it because it's like, you're just using it and manipulating people like that. Because for him, it's kind of like, he's trying to justify it like it's some greater good type of situation, but Roger's kind of like, that's my partner, that's not how I roll, you know? Kind of just tossing people aside, just using them however I want to. So luckily Roger was able to find Cole. I wasn't expecting it. I mean, it ended up being like halfway into the episode he ended up finding him. That kind of actually surprised me because I thought that'd be like the full length of the episode, but it kind of extends beyond that because you have him actually protecting Sophia later on in the episode, which I thought was so fascinating because later on, you know, because Roger crossed the line to find Cole, he ended up busting out this dude, Benny. Benny ended up being a lieutenant to Sophia, you know, the Vasquez cartel. And so that was interesting to me. I mean, for one, it just shows you like how important Cole has become to Roger because it's like, I'm going to do whatever it takes to kind of save you, even if I have to cross this line just because Barnes suggested it. And it's like, why did Barnes suggest that? And it's like, oh yeah, because he's trying to manipulate the situation because he's going to use Benny to kill Sophia. It's like, oh, like, I wonder, was that always a plan, or did he get the feeling like Cole didn't do what he needed to do, so Cole's probably going to end up being dead. So if Cole's dead, we'll end up using this as plan B. Essentially, that's what it's kind of, oh, wow, you're not dead, Cole, awesome, you know, type of thing. That's what I'm kind of getting inkling, which just kind of makes you go, man, oh, man, is Barnes such a piece of crap. Also, side note, I could be wrong. I should have looked this up. I need to start looking that up ahead of time, but isn't the actor who played Benny in this episode, I feel like I've seen him in quite a few things. Did he play Malvado's brother in the From Dusk Till Dawn TV show? I want to say that's the same actor. I could be 100% wrong, but nevertheless, it's actually kind of interesting because the reason why Benny is so okay with doing this, because apparently Sophia sold him out. I guess that's why Benny was able to kind of jump and do the whole like coup that he was doing. Because it seems like he got support from the other higher-ups in the cartel. I guess because they were like, oh, like, Sophia snitched you out like that. Yo, take her out. Fine, whatever. I'm guessing that's what I'm chalking that up to. I mean, I wonder why. I guess it's kind of like self-preservation, so she sold him out. Because we don't really know the circumstances around it. I guess it's not really important. But getting back to what I was saying earlier, it's kind of interesting because enemies become allies because Cole actually has to help her. And I love that she bites his finger. He's like, "Ow, what's up with you and fingers?" And even that point where he's like, "Jump down, I'll catch you," and he caught her. I was like, that's kind of a weird situation to kind of find yourself in. She puts the gun up to him and is like, "You killed my husband." He's like, "Yeah, I did." He actually apologized for it early in the episode because he's like, there's a lot of stuff that he did. Because I was under the impression that this is going to turn into a situation of like, oh, I'm not going to kill you. I'm going to kill your family. You took someone important from me, so I'm going to take them important away from you. But to be fair, I guess she never had a chance looking at the file, so she probably didn't know about Cole having, you know, Natalie and Maya in his life. So I'm guessing that's the reason why she came after Cole specifically. Because the only person who had looked at the file was most likely Home Dude from last episode that Cole had to take down. The ex-CIA agent dude. I'm blinking on his name right now. But yeah, so she didn't know about that. If she knew about that, it'd probably be a completely different story. But that in itself is actually kind of an interesting conversation too, because it brought up, like, for Natalie, it's like, I work in a hospital and stuff, so I'm typically okay with like under pressure situations. But she's like, I'm freaking out not knowing if Cole's okay, and it's like, we're not even together. Which Trisha's like, doesn't matter. The fact of the matter is you're connected to a cop. You know, she talks from personal experience of like the fear of waiting and always being worried about whether or not they'd come home or not. And it's like, whether that's for yourself or Maya's sake, that feeling probably isn't going to go away. I even love the fact is, one thing is like Maya was flipping because Cole said everything that was on his mind. I guess it's a combination of he was in a life and death situation like he did. So it's like, you don't want to kind of go through, you know, without saying what you need to say. And plus he was kind of all morphined up and stuff like that. But like Roger comes back with the coffee and she's like, man, that man, he just always, ooh, she's getting so flustered and everything. And I'm like, oh, that's so adorable. Because she's like, he actually said he loves me. That's terrible. And Roger's like, yeah, that's a bad thing. She's like, yeah, it's a bad thing. The fact of the matter is I moved on. I'm happy. And then he says that and she's like, well, it doesn't matter anymore. You know, I've moved on. And then Roger's just staring at her. She's like, I have. And he's like, I believe you until you said that. And it's just kind of interesting, you know. It kind of already showed that Natalie was kind of a little conflicted when it came to the Cole situation. Because we kind of actually got a little bit of their story this episode. Kind of about how they met. Because we'd heard that story before, but now it's like the whole Bali situation. It was going to be their time to get away. She found out she was pregnant. And for her and Cole, it's like, yeah, this is real. And because she was like, oh, this is a fling. Oh, God, you're not happy. He's like, no, I'm excited to be a dad. Like, I've never had a baby before. I've never had a home, which kind of plays into what I brought up last episode. We still don't know much about early days Cole, like before he was recruited into the CIA, who he was, what his family situation was like. I mean, it took us like 2 seasons to get to Riggs' family situation. So it makes you wonder, like, what kind of situation Cole comes from. I don't know. Who knows if they're ever really going to play into that. But what I thought was really interesting was, like, Cole's explanation later on. I was thinking, like, the reason why he just kind of never showed up, you know, bags packed and everything, like, Natalie waited for him, but he didn't show up, and it's like, he got scared, didn't he? Because he was worried that, you know, things were getting a little too real. Even though he said it was okay with things being real, but it's like, no, at that point in time, he was with the CIA, and even explains it later on, he's not supposed to have attachments. He wasn't supposed to get close to anybody with his job, and so he left for her sake because if, you know, as we can see, like, his past came back to haunt him, so being who he was, you're not meant to have meaningful relationships with people because it can be used against you like that. They could get caught up in everything you're doing, which I also brought that up last episode too, about the fact of the matter is Cole did a lot of stuff in the, what was it, 13 years he was working with the CIA. The fact of the matter is that's a lot of enemies to make, and that could easily come back to haunt you, especially because he threatened Barnes. He was like, because like Barnes tried to justify it, being like, oh yeah, you know, the Cole I know could have easily gotten out of that situation. But Cole's like, that's not who I am anymore. He's like, it's funny that you think that is the case. And then Cole's kind of like, the fact of the matter is I gave up everything, my family, because of you. He's like, it won't happen again. And he's like, the next time you try and come after my, like, use my partner like that, I'll kill you. And he's like, oh, you're definitely not the man I thought you were, or something like that. And Cole's like, that's the nicest thing you ever said to me. I get the feeling we're not done with the Barnes situation. I think Barnes might come after Cole just to kind of force his hand in some situation or another. I'm interested to see what happens. Maybe this will be the only time we see Barnes, but I wouldn't count it out 100% likely, because I think for him, he'll do anything to kind of force Cole back into that world, even though Cole's kind of turned his back, because for him, it's like, who you were, that doesn't go away. He feels, I'm sure for him, it's like, you're that weapon you were, it's kind of always going to be there, whether you want it to be or not, you know? So I'm interested to see whether anything comes from that or not. What I also enjoyed is the fact is that you had Cole knocking Roger out, putting him in the trunk, and Rihanna stealing the car and everything. And then, like, she's like, oh, my parents. And Dylan's like, yeah, and trying to kiss her. She's like, wait, were you trying to kiss me? Are you even listening to me? And Roger busts out the back, aha. She's like, Dad, what are you doing? He's like, I'm watching. I'm always watching. I'm like, that's super creepy, but that's super funny. I was like, oh my God. Because I didn't know how that situation was going to play out. Because I was like, oh yeah, all right, he's knocked up in the truck. She's still in the car. He's like, she has no idea. I'm like, dude, that's insane. I didn't know how they were going to handle that, like how that was going to play out. But I thought that was pretty freaking dope. Another thing I loved about this, it's like Avery's kind of flipping out a little bit, because it's like, what's up with this whole Benny situation? And who's the goot? Wait, what? I was going a week and so much is going down. What is happening here? It's like, right, Roger did make that decision without really letting anyone know. I also love that Bailey and the goot still have their problems, but Lucy was like, okay, you know what? This is how we're going to handle this. If you can convince that dude to give you the information we need on the 3 minutes, you get a free slug at me. And Bailey got it. I was like, Bailey's not going to get it. Luisa's going to show her up. And then, like, you see Bailey smiling, and the camera turns to Luisa holding an ice pack with her thumb up. I'm like, that's so good. Partnerships kind of being forced through the craziest means, because that just seems like to be the go-to thing when it comes to the show in general in that regard. So I thought that was kind of interesting. But you even had Luisa kind of having Roger's back, because it's like, Avery's like, man, guess where I found Benny? He was in the toilet stall, the one I used, which is funny because I was in there earlier. I didn't see him, but it's almost like someone left him there in that stall, number 2, just to make sure that I found him. She's like, you're not hiding anything. There's nothing you want to tell me. She's like, nope. She's like, but I got what you're saying, Captain. And he's like, what? She's like, to avoid stall number 2. And she walks away, and you see Avery kind of go, I think on some level maybe he's kind of happy about her loyalty like that, kind of not, kind of already making her part of the family. So I thought that was kind of pretty nice. While Cole is off dealing with his situation of how he ends up telling Maya the truth, and kind of, and it's kind of like this heartbreaking moment, because for her it's like, you're seriously doing this? Andrew works here and you're talking about all this stuff, you're bringing up the past. I waited for you 13 years ago. Hell, I was even waiting for you still 5 years ago. And the fact of the matter is, but for Cole, it's like, I made a lot of mistakes. I should have given everything up for you, for us. But all I'm asking for is a chance. And she kisses him, and it's like, whoa. And now that's complicated situation. Because let's not forget, Andrew was going to propose to Natalie, which the moment she was like, I can't believe you had the worst timing. I didn't know it was just, I figured it wasn't just a dating thing. I thought at that time he had already proposed to her, which apparently he hasn't. I thought he was going to do that immediately, but I guess maybe he's just waiting for the right time, and it's just like, oh, that's going to turn into a complicated mess in itself. But you do see Roger kind of smiling, being happy, like, it's like, hey, Cole's doing good, like, I am curious whatever happened in that Sophia situation. We never really got an look at that. I don't know whether she got arrested for the whole going after Cole thing. I'm assuming so. But, either way, it seems like her revenge kind of got sated, just because it's like, he saved my life, and just, Cole was just kind of doing the mission that he was kind of sent to do. Like, if anything, Barnes is the one that issued the order, so your issue should be with him. But to be fair, it's like, Cole was the one who actually pulled the trigger, so. Like I said, I'm very interested to see, where all this takes us going forward with all of this. Especially the Natalie and Cole thing. That's going to be an interesting thing. But I'm also interested into diving more into Cole's past too. Whether we'll see more on that, we'll just kind of have to wait and see. But like I said, I don't think we're done with the Barnes situation, but I could be wrong. Oh yeah, and also can't forget the whole Rihanna situation. It's like, hey, she kind of, realizes that her dating life isn't going that great. Her boyfriends over the course of the show have kind of sucked a little bit. In this particular case, it's like, yeah, he wasn't really a good listener. And, Roger even had her back, and it's like, a month is kind of like harsh. So it's like, let's break it down to 2 weeks, and she makes better dating choices. And it's like, oh. And Trisha's like, what happened? And he's like, the fact of the matter is, it's like I plead the fifth. I also thought it was kind of interesting too, Rihanna's reason why she was like, I did a good thing today, the whole helping out Maya's situation, and then like her mom was kind of like, oh no, your one good deed doesn't take away from all the other bad stuff you've done. And it's like, and the way Rihanna looked at it was kind of like interesting, because she's like, my parents are actually almost shocked. My mom in particular was almost shocked that I did a good thing. I was like, that is kind of interesting, I guess, when you look at it from that perspective of just kind of like, yeah, your mom's coming at it from the lawyer angle, your dad's coming at it from the cop angle, so, just kind of very suffocating. So I thought that, I don't know, just overall that's kind of all interesting, so. But really, that's all I want to talk about in this episode. Till next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and good